religious education program here at the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City. I'm really glad you're here with us today. Let's start Children's Chapel by lighting our chalice. See, our chalice candle looks a little different today. It melted in my car, but I thought it was really interesting, so we're going to keep using it. Symbol of light, symbol of knowledge, symbol of warmth, symbol of freedom. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love. As we're gathered in this space, I'd like you to take a deep breath with me, in through our nose, out through our mouth. Let's try that again. In through our nose and out through our mouth. This grounding exercise centers us in our space. Thank you for being here with me today. We in Children's Chapel like to share what's going well and maybe some things we need to work on. It's called Joys and Concerns. I'll start this week. So a joy is that we've been having a lot of outdoor movies at our house, and it is so fun. This week we watched Ghostbusters, we watched just lots of different things, and it was a ton of fun. And I had a lot of good times with my family here at our home safe. A bad thing that happened this week, might notice I have a cut on my face. Maybe you won't, I hope you don't. But I was cleaning out our kiddie pool in the backyard. It was dark, it was way dark, super late at night. And I was bringing over a bucket of water to water the plants, and I walked right into a tree branch and hurt my face. I got a cut and there's kind of a bruise. It's a whole scene. So that was not great. I'm not happy about that, but that happens in everybody's life. Sometimes you walk into a tree. What's going well for you? What do you want to share with the people that love you the most? I want you to share your joys and concerns with them right now, and I'll wait here for you. Thank you for sharing your joys and concerns. As we've been talking about, it's important for us to continue sharing our thoughts and our feelings with the people that love us the most. So I'm glad you got that opportunity. Now, let's hear about our UU of the week, who was a religious educator, just like myself. Our UU of the week was a Universalist religious educator who changed how we teach children in our church. Once upon a time in Nova Scotia, Angus MacLean was born. He was raised on an island in Nova Scotia called Cape Breton Island. His family was Presbyterian. He left high school and joined the Presbyterian Missionary Society. After he spent some time preaching on horseback, he enrolled at McGill University. While at the university, World War I began. Angus left the university to join the medical corps for 4 years. When he returned, he went back to McGill University, started studying theology. As he studied theology, he learned that people critically look at and discuss the Bible. Through his studies, he became increasingly liberal. He became so liberal, in fact, he had a hard time getting a Presbyterian ministry license. It was eventually granted to him, but with the misgivings of his fellowship committee. Angus took a job teaching teachers at Columbia University in New York City. While he was working there, he was also hired by the Canton Theological School in St. Lawrence, where he became a professor of religious education and psychology. In 1940, Angus left the Presbyterian faith he was raised in and became a Universalist. Through his study of religious theology, Angus became concerned at how the idea of God was taught to children. He didn't like that people made assumptions as to what God looked like, and that people just assumed God even existed in the first place. These ideas, though, were revolutionary. Angus was named chairman of the Department of Education for the Universalist Church of America. At the Universalist Church of America, he established a development office. He also placed a large emphasis on the pastoral duties of ministry, which means the taking care of people in a church rather than just the sermons. He left this position when the Universalist Church of America and the American Unitarian Association merged in 1960 to form the Unitarian Universalist Association. Along with Sophia Lyon-Foss, Angus pushed for a child-centered religious education program in churches. In a pamphlet he wrote, "The Method is the Message," he wanted a religious education to be relevant to children, to churches, and the problems of the world. Angus believed that while people's views on God and churches will change over their lifetime, the most important thing a religious education program could do for a person is to instill integrity, honesty, and a wonder for the life given to them. In his book, The Wind in Both Ears, published in 1965, Angus said, "Pray for the courage to interpret the wind and act upon what it brings to us." I think this quote is still relevant today. The world will always present us with opportunities, some easy, some hard, and it is up to us to decide what to do with these opportunities. Angus died in 1969 after retiring as a minister of religious education at the First Unitarian Church of Cleveland. At his funeral, Max Kapp said, "He was a champion of the spiritual rights of children and a wise interpreter of the liberal spirit of their parents." In 1971, the Unitarian Universalist Association created an award in his honor, the Angus H. MacLean Award for Excellence in Religious Education. I can't think of a more fitting tribute for this revolutionary educator. Let's see what's in our Wonder Box today. There's a note. It says, "Look behind the wall." Well, I'm gonna go look behind the wall and see if I can find out what Wonder Box item is back there. Oh! It's our giant globe. This week, we're continuing to talk about our 6 sources. From this globe, can you guess which item we're on? If you guessed the wisdom of world religions, you'd be right. The full text of the third source reads, "Wisdom from the world's religions, which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life." I have another question for you. Can you guess how many religions are found in this great big world? Drum roll, please. There are approximately 4,300. That's a lot of different ways people find their spiritual homes. One thing that draws a lot of people in to our Unitarian Universalist faith is how we encourage and expect our members to seek wisdom from lots of places. We want and encourage people to learn and think about how others find their spiritual path. We don't believe we have the market on truth or the idea of God. We think there are things that we can learn from many different faiths. Jacob Trapp said, "Each of the great religions has a distinctive note to be likened like strings on a harp. In Hinduism, it has a note of the spirit, a universe throbbing with divine energy and meaning. In Buddhism, it is the wisdom of self-discipline, quenching the fire of desires in the cool waters of meditation. In Confucianism, it is reciprocity, a mutual consideration is the basis of society. In Taoism, it is to conquer in action, be lowly and serviceable, like a brook, become rich in our sharing. In Judaism is exodus from bondage, the covenant of responsibility and freedom. In Islam is a note of submission. Our God and your God is one, to whom we are self-surrendered. In Christianity, it is that we all may become one together. This is my body, broken but for you. We learn these faiths and hopefully glean wisdom from them. While they are not our traditions, we can still learn a lot from them. When the end of September rolls around, I know Yom Kippur is soon. It's a time during the Jewish New Year to repent for things that you've done wrong. It reminds me that we are covenanted to each other. If I have done something wrong, I need to try and make it right. On Sundays in our building, you'd find the meditation group meeting and meditating together, finding spiritual peace in a practice of silence and focus, a practice from Buddhism. It's tricky, though, to be a faith that loves to celebrate diversity and inclusivity. While we want to learn and gain wisdom from lots of different faiths, it's important that we make sure we are not pretending to be those faiths or take traditions from other faiths and change them for our own. That's called cultural appropriation, and it's something we try really hard to not do. Reverend Philip Barber laid out three really good ideas for us to think about as we study other religions. 1, we must recognize to whom the tradition belongs and honor and respect them. Cultural and religious ideas and practices do not belong equally to everyone. Believing that we as outsiders have as much of a claim to someone else's property as they do is where colonization starts. 2, we have to do our homework. That means to study in depth the faith tradition we're engaging in. Learn how it is understood and practiced by those to whom it belongs. Understand its history, its development, and its evolution, its internal schisms, its competing theologies within the tradition itself. And we ought to note especially how those who practice traditions feel about outsiders engaging in it. For example, there are some Native American practices where all are invited to partake, and there are others practices that are only open to those who are part of the tribe. 3, finally, if at all possible, we ought to be in relationship and accountable to someone or some group that belongs to that faith tradition we are exploring. Remember, we don't know what we don't know, so they will often be able to help us avoid inadvertently misapplying or profaning what they hold sacred. I really appreciate Reverend Barber's last point about creating relationships with others. Central to our Unitarian Universalist faith is the idea of covenants. We enter into relationships with one another with promises. Our relationships with others is centered. I want to enter into authentic relationships with people who are not like me. By being in relationships with others, I'm able to expand my worldview and see others' opinions. I may not agree with them, but I'll be better able to understand how they see the world. I'm able to think outside of myself and my needs, which is something our world desperately needs right now. Listen and learn from others this week, and then share what you've learned. Thank you for joining us today. To find out more information about First Unitarian Church's work in the world, please visit us at slcuu.org. But until next time, let's heart out.